Hi everyone, this is Tanner, and today welcome back to another episode of the Man to Man Coverage Podcast. Today will be the first episode that we cover the 2021 NFL season actively. And today I have my good friend and co-host Mason with me.
What is up, guys?
Mason, how are you hanging out today?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's Thursday, so there was a crazy game on, but we'll probably talk about that next week. But pretty good day.
Yeah, hopefully doing better than Giants fans. Oh no. As an Eagles fan, it brings me much joy to see the suffering of Giants. In all honesty, though, I actually don't mind the Giants. Like the Giants Eagles classic rivalry, Cowboys, and I really do not like Washington. Ron Rivera's made them a bit more likable. But anyways, enough Giants trashing. We'll do that later. There'll be many more times to do that. So the first half of this episode is we each picked three games to say our thoughts on, and then the second half we'll have a topic to cover. I think this way we get some stuff in about the NFL, but we'll also, you know, really going in depth because I think if we covered every game, that would take a bit too long. So the three games I picked are the Jaguars Texans game, the Eagles Falcons, and then the Vikings Bengals. Mason, what three games from week one did you pick?
I picked Arizona versus Tennessee. I picked the Browns
Oh,
versus
okay.
Kansas City, and then I also picked Green Bay versus New Orleans.
All right, so six good games to cover. I'm going to jump in with the Jaguars Texans game. So let's start with the good before we get to the bad and the ugly. Um, the Texans, Tyrod Taylor, who still had some juice in him, and crew got the job done this week in a pretty good game. I predicted the Texans to lose, and I thought they came out and looked pretty well and organized. Tyrod Taylor is who I really want to focus on because I really like Tyrod Taylor. I'm a big fan of his. When he was with the Bills before, he was always kind of someone who'd always throw like two or less interceptions per season. He would never throw the ball downfield. And I feel like that this game, you saw a bit more of him extending the plays. He had 291 yards, two touchdowns. That's pretty good. And I feel like that a lot of people have been saying, yeah, it was fun to go out there and see him play. And it was. I'm very happy for him. But I think to an extent, this offense will not be a bottom tier offense. Brandon Cooks, I've always been a bigger fan of him than other people. He's been on, I think this is his fourth team. Let's use on the Saints, Patriots, Rams, Texans. Yeah, I think it's four teams. He played pretty well. And then the Texans head coach is David Coley, who was formerly with the Ravens. And the Ravens, as a fan of them, they're a very sustainable organization. And, the Ravens don't really have that many blowout losses. Even if the Ravens don't win, it's always close. I could kind of see that happening with Houston this season. They have a very tough schedule. They're on the road in Cleveland. They have the NFC West to play. They have the AFC East to play. It's not going to be easy. I think they win four or five games, but I think they're a bit closer. And then I don't know if they have a first round pick, but if they do, you know, you can get some of the pieces. And maybe they don't go quarterback because Tyrod Taylor could be sustainable. But the Jaguars, oh no, I feel bad for Mason, everyone who's a Trevor Lawrence fan. Um, it was a rookie game. He had some great plays, he had some not great plays. What really is disappointing is Urban Meyer. I like that hire coming in. Most people did not. I was high on him than most, and this was just a terrible game. For a couple of reasons. First of all, there was no flow to the offense. They only ran the ball 16 times total. I don't care how bad the offensive line is. Trevor Lawrence had 51 pass attempts. That's insane. Run the ball more, Urban Meyer. What are you doing? And I feel like he's always used Urban Meyer in college, always used his players in kind of creative and cool ways. That didn't happen. And that Jaguars defense was terrible. So I'm really concerned for Jacksonville. What I think happens is Urban Meyer's one and done. And then I could see a Sam Darnold situation with Trevor Lawrence where he gets traded out of Jacksonville, not because Lawrence himself is bad, but it's just not working out. And I know this is week one, I'm trying not to overreact. That's why I only have the Texans winning like 5 games. I'm trying to be semi-realistic, but the Jaguars, they have a very tough schedule. They have the same schedule as Houston as in the same division, but I could see the Jaguars having the number one overall pick again next year, and just things are not going well. So I thought this was a really interesting game more than I thought. So I want to touch on that, Mason. If you want to say your thoughts on this game and then pick your game. And I also want to see different play calling for the Jaguars week 2 matchup against the Broncos. Lawrence is not going to have a ton of time to throw with Von Miller and everyone in his face. So I hope that Urban Meyer has a game plan more in a quick, short passing game.
Yeah, everything you said pretty hit the nail on the coffin. Lawrence had some good plays. He also had a lot of rookie mistakes, and I really like what you said. Like, you shouldn't have your rookie quarterback throwing 51 times. I feel like that's just bound to not like end up well, just because he hasn't. It's his first real NFL experience, so it's not going to end up well. He's probably just going to make a lot of mistakes like he did. And I think I said in the last podcast, I think Urban Meyer, I was high on him too coming in. I think we both were talking about the new head coaching hires. But like after watching the preseason, and I know it's only week 1, but I'm just really not a big fan of how he's kind of operated the team
Mhm.
so far. Like David Coley, I think he's like actually a really what I saw from week 1 was a fantastic coach. His body language, like on the sideline, you can just tell like he's in a professional manner way. He knows how to deal with adversity, and like Urban Meyer really hasn't had to deal with that because he's won almost every game in college. So when he loses, it's kind of like he throws like a fit almost, and it's like you can't really do that as like the head coach. You kind of have to be the most stable guy in the locker room and like kind of lift up your team spirits. Yeah, I would not be surprised if Urban Meyer either gets canned after this year or he kind of just like retires again and realizes maybe coming back to coaching really,
Retires again.
yeah,
Everyone.
maybe coming back to coaching wasn't for him. But yeah, Tyrod, so happy for him. The guy has been kind of like screwed over just by injuries, terrible luck the past couple of years. He finally gets a chance to play and absolutely balls out. So happy for him. And like the Texans like roster that has like a lot of talent that was like good a couple of years ago, but like every guy on the roster just seems to play super hard, which I respect a lot. So I think the Texans might do a little better than I anticipated. But yeah, the Jaguars look abysmal. Their defense looked absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, Urban Meyer just has no personality. If y'all at home have an iPhone, you might have seen this. It's the Easter head island emoji. Looks, well, I don't know if y'all can see that. I don't think you can, but that's what Urban Meyer is. He just has no personality. But Mason, what game do you have?
Yeah, so I'll talk about a game that's kind of similar to the Jaguars one. A little worse. Green Bay at New Orleans.
Oh no.
I was gonna go with like 3 close, like cool games, but then I thought I should throw in like a game that was like a team did really well and like a team did like you can't do much worse than what they did.
Mason just
Um, yeah, it was horrible. Like, yeah, okay. I'll just talk about the Saints real quick. Um, their defense looked phenomenal. Their front seven was getting pressure pretty much the entire game. That secondary was putting on the clamps. Devontae Adams had a couple nice catches, but like it was not a Devontae Adams game. Like he did not literally do anything. Jameis Winston had a phenomenal game. He only threw for 148 passing yards, but he had 5 touchdowns. He was just like unstoppable in the red zone. It
it's
seemed like,
quality over quantity for
yeah,
him.
he was like, it was really nice to see. He had 5 touchdowns, and usually it'd be like 5 touchdowns, 5 picks, but now it was 5 touchdowns, 0 picks. Um, no, all jokes aside, like Alvin Kamara looked really great as well. Seemed to not like skip a beat, even though Drew Brees wasn't playing there. It seemed like the Alvin Kamara we know. And even I was like really impressed with the receiving core because they don't have Michael Thomas right now in the.
Yeah, they can't run slants now. Or
But there's a tight end on their team named Jawan James or something like that. It's something like that. Sorry if I butchered it,
it
but it's
is
like,
Jawan James,
yeah,
yeah.
he had 2 touchdowns, and one of them was like it was like a wide open like throw, but like it was kind of just like a weird position of the ball, and he like went up and grabbed it, and it was just like an amazing catch. But the Saints just look absolutely phenomenal. But I think what I want to talk about more is the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, he's known for being so good that there's conspiracy theories being made that he threw last week's game and he's throwing this season. Like
Which
that's
is
how good
so
Aaron
dumb.
Rodgers.
It's so
Yeah,
dumb. I I, I want to just interrupt you. Hold on. I'm going to pull a Skip and Shannon. Skip. And and all. That's just so dumb. With the whole conspiracy theory thing. First of all, why would he come back if he didn't want to play? And like, I think that's also disrespectful to Rodgers. I mean, and to the Saints. So I don't know. I don't know if people trying to be funny. Yeah, it was kind of funny, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of ridiculous to be saying that.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers he had a bad game. I think that's all it was. Aaron
It's like
Jones got a mass. Oh, we can go.
have you seen those commercials? It's like you had a bad day. Like, yeah, those
It was
football
Aaron
commercials.
Rodgers. Full
Yeah,
Packers team actually.
yeah, they didn't show up. If you want to continue, Mason, what you're saying.
But yeah, Aaron Jones. I feel like not enough people are talking about Aaron Jones. I feel like, I mean, you can see on the left, it shows total rushing yards for the Packers. Um, their leading rusher was AJ Dillon, who had 4 carries for 19 yards. So that just shows the production that Aaron Jones had. Yeah, 5 carries, 9 yards. They need to run the ball more. You're paying him all that money. You got to run the football. Like, he's one of the top paid running backs, and you're not running the football. I really don't understand that. Because at that point, you might as well just kept Jamal Williams and kept cap space to bring back
Mhm.
Jair or Devontae Adams, who you're having contract issues with. But yeah, Jordan Love got some playing time, which I thought was pretty cool. He actually didn't look horrible. He looked better than Rodgers.
Oh no.
On very small sample size, of course. But yeah, Rodgers just had a horrible game. I think this is I don't like to say have overreactions week one, but this is pretty bad for a start to the season, especially for the last dance.
I never got the whole last dance because like Devontae Adams, he's been only like really good the past 2 to 3 years. Before then, he was nice, but I never got the whole last dance thing. If the Packers lose to the Lions on Monday night, then sound the alarms in Green Bay. Things are going crazy. Now I'm not overreacting. It's one game, and the Saints played really well. It's not like Aaron Rodgers was bad and the rest of the team was great. The Packers, before this game, they watched their film tape from the 49ers NFC Championship game, and they're like, hey, Matt LaFleur's like, hey guys, do you see how we allowed the 49ers to run the ball everywhere? He's like, yeah, do that again, please. So that's what happened. Like, there's no defense, which is a very Packers thing. But wait, Chris Hogan's on the Saints. That's cool. But in all seriousness, the whole Packers team didn't show up. So I don't think putting the blame solely on Rodgers is right. It was just the whole team, but they got to pick themselves up because they have the Lions and they have the 49ers. And if they have trouble stopping the rushing football against the Saints, it's going to be a nightmare against San Francisco. Then they have Pittsburgh, who have a tough defense. So it's going to be tough for Green Bay. The Saints play great though. And it was nice to see them spread the ball around. I think this just reminds people how great Sean Payton is. Yeah, he might have a bit of a trouble pass, but he's a really good offensive coach. And Mason might get to transition into my next game.
Yeah,
So the NFL is going in an offensive kind of sense. And that's why I think that the Minnesota Vikings, as they lost to the Bengals, it's a concern. And I don't think people really understand how bad this is for the Vikings because this was a game I think they should have won. They matched up extremely well against Minnesota or Cincinnati, and they lost in overtime. Yes, people can blame the Dalvin Cook fumble for the reason the Vikings lost, but the Minnesota Vikings should never even been in that position. They should have beat the Bengals by like 10 points. That did not happen. And I think that it's time for Mike Zimmer to go. Mike Zimmer, the Vikings head coach, he's a defensive head coach. And his whole thing before was, okay, you know, he was a defensive coach, kind of steady, but that's just not the way the NFL is going, everyone. Defensive coaches, they're not as often as you might think in the NFL. The others I can think of, kind of these veteran head coaches defensively, John Harbaugh with the Ravens, but he's just kind of almost like a general manager coach. Pete Carroll with the Seahawks, and Pete Carroll, I mean, yeah, he's nice, and he's a great coach, but I think more of the success now is Russell Wilson. We've discussed this before, but I think Pete Carroll's kind of phasing out, and I think the same is happening to Mike Zimmer. What I see happening is I see Mike Zimmer getting fired halfway through this season, and I think he'd be a great defensive coach, coordinator somewhere, wherever it may be. And he would be a great defensive coordinator, but I don't know about the Vikings head coach because before Mike Zimmer would win games like this, and he didn't. And there's not that much else to say about the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I thought, played good. Justin Jefferson had some nice plays. Adam Thielen was great. That one touchdown he had, I think it was in the fourth quarter. That was really cool. Just that slant route he ran. Dalvin Cook was great. Joe Mixon was excellent for the Bengals. This was kind of a really big game, I think, for both teams because Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Bengals, up until this point, I thought was the worst coach in the NFL. I don't know if I think that anymore. I like kind of the way he led the team because before it almost seemed like he was a glorified coordinator in a head coach position. But it seems like he kind of took charge of the team. He got them a nice win. And, you know, Zach Taylor was formerly with the Rams, kind of the Sean McVay play action scheme. I thought you saw that here. Joe Burrow had an excellent game. He only had 7 incompletions, 2 touchdowns. That's great. So the Vikings play the Cardinals next, and man, that secondary is going to have a lot of troubles against DeAndre Hopkins and crew. While the Bengals play the Bears, which I'm really excited for. I think that'll be a great game. And if the Bengals go 2-0, that's pretty impressive. Also, especially since it's an out of conference game, these teams play each other every 4 years: Vikings, Bengals, Bears. So it's not like it's harder to prep for them. So that's another thing that I think should be acknowledged for the Bengals. So Mason, if you want to say your thoughts and then go to your next game.
Yeah, no, I like what you said about Mike Zimmer. I think a little cause for concern. He's kind of been like, I feel like he had a really nice high, and then it's kind of just been a steady decline ever since last
Mm-hmm.
year. Last year was
Yeah.
definitely disappointment for him. But yeah, you talked a lot about the Vikings. I just want to talk about Joe Burrow. I don't think a lot of people are giving him enough credit. I mean, this dude
Yeah,
came back
not.
from one of the worst knee injuries like you can really have. And he played absolutely phenomenal in his first game back, which I'm really excited to see because I feel like a lot of people forget he was the #1 pick because like Justin Herbert kind of like took the glory for obvious reasons. He's amazing, but
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow was still pretty solid before he got injured last year, and then comes out with a great game. Jamar Chase, I've been criticizing him a lot, but I have to give credit where credit's due. He had a phenomenal game as well.
Yeah, I'm going
Seems
to
like
include people wrong because that whole preseason reaction I thought was a bit ridiculous. And he's an outside guy. The preseason, he was
mm,
running these like inside jam routes with linebackers in his face. Here, he was able to go down the sideline and make stuff happen.
yeah, I only thing I didn't like was his comment about the football thing. Thought that was so dumb, but maybe it was taken out of context or something. But Joe Mixon had a really good game. Hopefully, this isn't Joe Mixon's one good game of the year,
Oh no!
and then he just decides not to play football.
Oh no!
Um, um, but yeah, I'm gonna hop into my second game. I'm gonna talk about the Cleveland game and Kansas City game. I think this was one of the best games of the week. So fun to watch. First half, the Browns could not be stopped on offense. Like Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, this entire offense was on point. The Chiefs were like, their offense wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the Chiefs offense we like know, like with Patrick Mahomes and amazing things. And then what happens in the second half? Patrick Mahomes comes back yet again from another comeback, which he seems to do. Like I've never felt more comfortable with from someone being down besides Patrick Mahomes. Like this dude can come back from anything. Um, I don't know if anyone watched the throw. He was like on the run. It was like a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. I was like,
Oh yeah,
dude,
we had like ducked and
yeah,
caught it. That was such a Madden play. People have
I
said that, but it's
don't know. There's only one quarterback who can make that throw, and there's only like a handful of people who can make like that, like Tyreek Hill and like that duo is just like something that we've never seen before. I feel like it's so entertaining to watch. Kind of like reminds me of Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson back in like the 2009 days, where like Vic would just roll out, heave it up, and
oh
Deshaun Jackson
yeah.
would be there. and just grab it and go for 6 and like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it's even
Um,
different though, because sorry to interrupt, but as an Eagles fan, I like Michael Vick on Philly. It's even different though, because Vick had an arc. Mahomes can like arc
mhm,
it, but zip it. It's crazy.
yeah. Um, no, but then it just seemed to have like the Browns' typical luck at the game at the end of the game. There was a fumble, I believe, by Nick Chubb, which is extremely uncommon. The punter fumbled the ball. Chiefs go down and score right away. Baker Mayfield throws like a pick after he's having an excellent game. He got hit from behind, I believe, but still, just having a phenomenal game and has a pick. It's just like typical Browns luck. It almost seems like where they have a great thing going and then they just kind of choke it away. But if anything, I think the Chiefs is obviously like expected win, but I think this says a lot about the Browns. I think the Browns are like super like they're a team to be reckoned with. I think a lot of I don't think any team wants to go against them just because they'll run it in your face, and their defense is going to come out and be pretty good. I know they gave up 33 points, but it's to the Chiefs, and they were playing pretty well in the first half. The offense kind of didn't do many favors in the second half. But yeah, they're going to run the ball in your face. Their offensive line is going to be extremely stout. I think this is one of the best offensive lines in football. But no, I'm coming away from this game. I'm impressed with both teams.
Chris Jones is an excellent defensive tackle, and he hit Baker Mayfield as he was launching, and that's what caused the ball to be
Mhm.
picked. It annoys me how much people are blaming Baker Mayfield. Oh my God.
you you can continue.
Uh, it annoys me because if you're watching the play, he's
Mhm.
going to throw and he gets hit, and the ball releases earlier than it was supposed to. So that whole complaint really gets to me. I really don't have anything to say about this game. The one thing is, I thought the Chiefs might regress a bit this season. I don't think they are. They're unbelievable. Tyreek Hill, we've had this discussion before, Mason. I think he's the most versatile wide
Mhm.
receiver. I think DeAndre Hopkins, we'll talk about soon, has the best hands. And like Devontae Adams or Keenan Allen's the best route runner. But Tyreek Hill's so versatile, and he showed that once again. I wish the Chiefs ran the ball a bit more. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks to kind of be a bust, kind of taken super high in the draft when he was a first round pick 2 years ago and then didn't do anything his rookie year and doesn't seem to be doing anything this year for the sophomore campaign. So I know you have Mahomes, and that's great, but you're going to be playing some teams this year, the Chiefs are, who are more going to be able to keep up with them because their defense isn't that great. You're going to have to run the ball a bit more. So before I go into my last game, Mason, do you have anything, or do you think they should use Clyde Edwards-Helaire more in the offense? Because he's not really doing a whole ton so far.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like I think he's like a fine running back. I don't think he'll ever be like a Pro Bowl status running back. I think he'll always be like kind of average. I think Damian Williams, I think they're gonna regret not bringing him back because he fit that offense amazingly. He took a year off of football for COVID. Um, Respect to him for doing that. But before
Mhm.
that, people forget he was a really big part in that Super Bowl run. I mean, he kind of like started playing towards the end of that year and he kind of popped off in the playoffs. And then, yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire can't stay healthy. And besides that first game last year against the Texans, he really hasn't done much.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. All right, my third and final game is the Eagles Falcons. Wow, what a win for Philly. As an Eagles fan, I was not expecting this, and I cannot explain how nice it is to have an Eagles win that's smooth sailing for the past couple of years. And ever since I was an Eagles fan, they got to win either one or really two or three ways. Either A, they like scrapped it out for the last second touchdown field goal. B, they played a really bad team. And yes, people are saying the Falcons are not good, but they match up well against Philly. Philly just took away those options. Or three, it was when they're on a Super Bowl run. So it's nice to have an Eagles win that was just nice, smooth sailing, no weird from behind victories, just a really nice win. This Eagles team seems so new, Mason. It's weird as a fan of this team. I don't know if you felt the same way when like Kyle Murray and Hopkins with the Cardinals, but it just feels new, but in a good way. It's kind of this nice, fresh offense. Jalen Hurts looked great, especially that touchdown down at the Dallas Goddard. Miles Sanders is really quick. He has a really nice burst. I see hints of Shady McCoy, who I love as an Eagles fan, one of my all-time favorite players. I hope we get to see more of him. We also have Kenneth Gainwell, the rookie running back, who had a touchdown. I'm just loving this Nick Sirianni offense for Philly, just very smooth in that defense. Wow, like Matt Ryan didn't do anything. Kyle Pitts, Calvin really were like, do you see them? I don't know where they're at. That's just really non-existent. So this Eagles team looked great. The Falcons looked terrible. um, this is probably one of the worst. I'm not a Falcons fan, but this is probably one of the worst losses they've had. Matt Ryan against an Eagles secondary that has his holes at only 164 passing yards. Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts were underwhelming. I don't know about Atlanta. I knew their defense would be bad. I think that was kind of a given to an extent, but their offense, you bring in Arthur Smith, offense coordinator for the Titans to be your head coach. He doesn't really do anything in this game. Things are not looking great here for Atlanta. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting if things continue to be bad. And I could see that happening again. I don't know overreact, but they have a tough schedules. I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Ryan getting traded away, him going to a contender like Denver or Washington, and then using a mobile quarterback such as Josh Rosen or Felipe Franks, because the one thing Arthur Smith used was the play action scheme. Is with the Titans, Ryan Tannehill would have plays with like run or move out of the pocket. You don't get that with Matt Ryan. So I don't know. Atlanta, just things are not looking well for them. They really need to change it. Philadelphia, I think they win 6-7 games. They have a tough schedule with a lot of high power offenses. The Chargers, Chiefs, Panthers, Saints, Tampa Bay. We'll see how things go, but nice win for them. And I feel like Atlanta's going to have to do a lot of fixes because they just did not look too good. And I feel like that their strengths did not look like strengths.
Yeah. Matt Ryan, he kind of just did not look like, I mean, the whole team didn't really look like very good, but Matt Ryan just seemed like he's kind of given up on the team almost. I mean, there was just a lot of plays. It just seemed like he didn't want to be there, if I'm being completely honest. And I feel like it's a time, I think it's like a Philip Rivers situation where it's like you did your time, you tried your hardest with this franchise, but I think it's time to move on and try to make the playoffs again, because I don't think you're going to do that with this Falcons team, because they have a lot of work to do, especially on that defensive side. It is ridiculous, but as everyone knows who watches this, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. So seeing one of these games from him was absolutely so cool to see. He was really known as a runner, but today, or not today, excuse me, Sunday, he showed his arm talent. He had a beautiful throw to Devontae Smith. It was like an 18-yard touchdown. Great route by Smith, who I think a lot of rookie receivers did fantastic this first week. But Smith, a lot of question marks like, oh, can he be physical in the NFL? And he seemed perfectly fine. I mean, 6 catches, 71 yards, and your touchdown. For a debut, if you ask me, that is pretty good. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts had a fantastic game. And I really like the Eagles' rushing attack, because I know they have Miles Sanders as his top guy, but Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott as like rotational pieces, I think work so perfectly, because they're all kind of like the same guy. So like Miles Sanders doesn't really works out. Like you can throw in Gainwell and he can kind of replicate what he's doing, or same with Boston Scott, who I think is very underrated. Every time Sanders goes down, I feel like Boston Scott has great games. But yeah, I think it's a concern for the Falcons, because I feel like we knew the defense was going to be bad, but I don't think we thought this offense was going to be as bad as it was.
Yeah, I'm glad Hurts played well and the Falcons were hurting. So kind of
Oh,
fitting.
I've also forgot to say I really love Nick Sirianni as a coach. There's something
Mhm.
about him. Like I saw him and Jalen Hurts like dapping each other up after a touchdown. I was like, that's so cool to see, like from a coach to a QB, because like you'll never see Belichick doing that, but like I think it's cool that um the coach and like quarterback have that like kind of like almost like a friendship. I don't know. It's kind of cool to see.
Nick Sirianni is like a very young dude. I like his
Mhm.
energy. I've always been a fan of him since day one. So all right,
Oh, yeah.
thanks, Zoom. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hop into my third game. It's gonna be my favorite team, Cardinals versus Titans. Coming into this game, I was like, I really felt like the Cardinals were gonna lose. I thought Derrick Henry's gonna have a field day. You see 17 carries, 58 yards for Derrick Henry. I feel like that. I feel like that's not a good stat line, but I feel like that doesn't even do justice for how much the Cardinals shut him down because he had a lot of like rushes at the end when the Cardinals were up like 30 points, and he kind of just got like free rushes because the Cardinals like second stringers were in because we don't want JJ Watt getting hurt in a meaningless game, or fourth quarter. But yeah, Derrick Henry had one of his worst games in the past 3 years. I think that's just a fact. I mean, he got absolutely demolished. Ryan Tannehill, he had no time to throw. Taylor Lewan literally had to go on Twitter and apologize to the Titans
He was
fans.
uncharacteristically terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, did the
Yeah,
Ravens offensive line take place in this game?
you know, you like
But,
watching Chandler Jones manhandle that left side of the field was ridiculous. Or yeah, the left side of the Titans field was ridiculous. This dude was throwing because like Taylor Lewan went out for like a couple snaps because like he injured his thumb or something. It didn't matter. Chandler Jones was throwing whoever the second string guy was out of the way. 5 sacks. Steve Kime paid this man what he deserves. Absolute stud. He had a year off because of bicep injury. Didn't lose a step from that 2019 year. Kyler Murray had a fantastic game. 4 touchdowns on the through the air, excuse me, and one on the ground. And I really liked how they split the carries between Edmonds and Connor. I think it was a really good thing that Cliff did because I feel like Cliff last year was just horrible at splitting carries between Kenyon Drake
mhm.
and Edmonds. He had Edmonds in like a lot of passing schemes and those types of plays. And then when we needed like a tough yard, like a 3rd and 1 or something, we throw in James Conner and he'd go ahead and grab that for us. But absolute beast Hopkins showing why he's, I think, one of the best players in the NFL. And Christian Kirk had a very underrated game. He had 2 amazing catches. But yeah, absolute dominance from a team. And I don't think we need to worry too yet about the Titans. I think they just have to
Mhm.
mesh. Like they have a new coordinator. Um, and they still have Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, AJ Brown. I feel like that team just can't not be good. So I feel like it's not too early yet to be concerned. I think it's still a lot of time to make up for this game.
Until TJ Watt has 5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in a game, I don't hear anyone say that TJ Watt's better than Chandler Jones. Just ridiculous. Chandler Jones was fantastic. It's nice to see him actually get some respect
Mhm.
because he's been great. He's been probably the best pass rusher. Definitely should get paid higher than TJ Watt. Definitely a better player than someone like TJ Watt. I would say he's on the level like a Khalil Mack, maybe a bit worse, but the dude's insane. The thing I want to talk about here is this was a great game. Was the addition of Hopkins and Watt and how they really impact other players. When you have Hopkins, other people like Christian Kirk get more active. It was great to see him. Kirk's always been a nice player, but it's nice to see him more act as a boundary receiver, especially that touchdown. Like Murray like lobs it off his foot and Kirk like brings it down. You also saw AJ Green and Rondell Moore. I would like to see more of them, but they had some nice plays. JJ Watt was nice. He didn't do anything excellent, but he didn't do anything terrible. He was nice. We really seen the impact that he brings because Chandler Jones just had his mismatch and just went at it. I really like this Cardinals team. Even the secondary played lockdown. The Titans, I don't know, man. It's tough, Mason, because they have Seattle next
Mhm.
on the road. I'm interested to see how Bobby Wagner and crew do against Derrick Henry. That's gonna be a fun game. I'm taking Seattle and the Titans going 0-2. Yeah, the AFC South is not super strong, but I don't know. I'm interested to see when Julio Jones gets going because that needs to happen. He was pretty quiet this game, but yeah, great job by Kyler Murray. He looked very comfortable in the pocket. And that's one thing. I felt like the last game, even in his rookie year, there are times where like over the middle, he would be a bit off. I thought this game he was really spot on with his passes. So Mason, do you have anything else to add on to this game?
The one thing I would like to add is I liked Cliff's intensity on the sideline. He was getting mad at the refs. He's getting mad at the players, which I like to see. His first couple of years, he was like, this is literally Cliff Kingsbury, his first year when like something bad or good happened. But he actually
Doing
showed
the
like fire. I
mannequin
think it's because
challenge.
like I think it's because he's on the hot seat. I think it's like he kind of knows it's like do or die for him this year. So I'm really glad to see that from him.
Yeah, I like that. Cliff's on the hot seat, so he was getting fired up. It was also nice to
Mhm.
see Vance Joseph because he was the Broncos defensive coordinator. There'd be moments with on the Broncos. You had like Von Miller and people there, and you saw flashes of that here. But yeah, great win for the Cardinals. I'm excited for the Vikings matchup. I think they should win that game pretty easy. I think they're gonna clamp up on Dalvin Cook. I don't think he's gonna get going that much. So rip to some of my fantasy teams because I have dude, week 1 for fantasy. I had Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry on the same team and did not win. Speaking of which, Mason, that's gonna bring us to our topic of the day, fantasy. So fantasy football is fun. Yay, it's fun, cool things, it's enjoyable. But I think that fantasy, in a way, is kind of ruining people's perceptions of players. Raheem Mostert, starting running back for the 49ers, he's out with a season, I believe it's ACL ending injury. Prayers up to him. But I believe it was his or his wife posted something that they got hate messages directed at him for that. And, that's terrible. And I'm not saying I see that a lot, but whenever a player gets injured, and I'm on Instagram and social media, and the first thing people say is, "Oh, rip to my fantasy team." And I want to bring up, do you think that in a way, fantasy football is kind of almost shifting people's perceptions on injury? And I do think this is something important to bring up for this kind of conversation, because that just kind of stuck with me. And I just kind of want to know your take on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, I don't know, I feel like it puts a lot of like unnecessary hate towards a lot of players that don't really deserve it, because like people have bad days, and if people get injured, it's really, I mean, if people get injured, it's out of like the player's control. Like, I don't know how you can get mad at someone for getting injured. Like, it's just bizarre to me. It's like, you think they want to be injured? Like, no, they want to be out there playing for the fans. Um, and I think a lot of it has to do with like these fantasy leagues are very like competitive nowadays. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money put into them. So I feel like that ruins it kind of like, it's almost like gambling, like sports gambling. Like, I don't partake in sports gambling because I feel like it would ruin it for me, because like I don't really want to be stressed out watching a game. I kind of want to enjoy it, not really stressed out. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing with fantasy is it stresses them out. I love fantasy. I think it's great, but
It
I
is
know
fun.
I know it's fantasy. At the end of the day, I'm not going to take it super seriously. Like, me and my friends have a league. It's a money league, but it's like $20 a person. It's not that serious, but we all have fun with it. We don't take it seriously to the extent that some other people do, sending death threats. So I think that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think overall fantasy is fun and it's cool, but I think people need to kind of view it in a different way. And one thing is that fantasy football is a way to view football. It's not football, okay?
Mhm.
Offensive coordinators are not gonna be like, man, let's feed this person the ball because they're supposed to do on a PPR league. That's just not how it works. What I like about fantasy is I do a league with my family, and what I've been noticing is everyone in my family likes a different team. Fantasy can branch out and view other teams and other players, and I feel like it kind of broadens your view of the NFL. So yeah, overall, kind of, I think people's perceptions of it need to get better. Injuries suck, but they're gonna happen. That's football, and unfortunately, it's just part of the game. I wish people reacted better. Before we end off here, Mason, what week 2 games are you looking forward to this week?
Um, so besides the Cardinals one, I look forward to every single Cardinals game, obviously, diehard fan. I am looking really forward to, I'm trying to look for it. Dallas and Los Angeles. I'm really excited for that game. I think it's like two just high powered offenses going at it. I think the Cowboys, they impressed me a lot last week. I'm really excited to see Dak Prescott. Me and Tanner had a little debate about Mr. Prescott looking like an absolute stud. Um, Justin Herbert, those two guys going at it. I think this is going to be. I hope it's like a 40 point. I hope it's like 40-38. Whoever wins, I don't really care who wins, but I think that would be a phenomenal game. Hopefully, Ezekiel Elliott gets going this game, because the Cowboys really didn't include him last week.
If someone asked me, hey Tanner, you could go anywhere in the world, where'd you go? I would go to this game this Sunday. I'm super excited for a unique matchup. It's gonna be great. Dak and Herbert going at it. I hope Zeke gets going. I also hope we see more of Austin Eckler for the Chargers. I'm going LA. I said this more in the prediction video, but I trust Brandon Staley, and this Chargers team. They can win close games. I think this is going to put them to the test kind of early on. They played a great defense in Washington last week. Now they go up against another NFC East team with the Cowboys. How do they do defensively on the offense? I love Duran James, Joey Bosa. Can they step up? So very excited for this game. I think it could be game of the week. What I'm excited for, I don't know if this is going to be the most highest scoring, but I think Bengals Bears is going to be fun. Andy Dalton against his former team. I'm interested to see really how Joe Burrow does against the Chicago defense. The Chicago defense played very poor week one as Matthew Stafford beautifully diced them apart. That was so awesome to see Stafford do that. And the thing is, the Vikings got 5 sacks on Joe Burrow week one, yet the Vikings still lost. So I'm interested to see how does the Bengals defense do and how much impact this game has, because I think this could be a big impact. You know, the Bears lose to Rams. Most people are expecting that, but they lose to Cincinnati. I don't know. Is it time to put in Justin Fields? Um, so I think there's gonna be some pivotal moments in this game for the Bears. I don't think it'll be like season altering too much, but I think that maybe the ways of Fields starting and some coaching changes could be propelled faster if they lose. And I think Cincinnati wins because week 3, the Bears play the Cleveland defense. Okay, that's pretty tough. I don't know if you want Justin Fields starting week 3. Week 4, I believe they played in line. So maybe start Andy Dalton for these next 2 games, just throw him in the fire. And then you start Fields week 4. I don't know. I'm interested to see where that goes and how Joe Burrow does. I think if Joe Burrow really clutches up this game, because I think it'd be a lower scoring game, then I think that people should put respect on his name. So Mason, what do you think of this game, Cincinnati and Chicago?
No, yeah, I like it a lot. I think it'd be a lot cooler if it was Justin Fields playing, just because like Joe Burrow versus Justin Fields just seems
That
like
would be neat.
a super cool matchup. But obviously, Andy Dalton will get the start. But I still think it'll be a good game. I hope Burrow keeps playing the way he did last week. I'm a little concerned for that offensive line. Khalil Mack kind of had a quiet start last week, but I think it's Khalil Mack. He'll probably turn it up this week. But I'm really concerned is that Chicago secondary, they got absolutely obliterated last year or last night. Excuse me, last year, last
Last
week.
year and last night, both they
Yeah,
have not been too good lately.
yeah, their front seven's amazing, but their secondary sucks. And Cincinnati, their offensive line sucks, but that Burrow to Higgins, Boyd, and Chase connection looks lethal so far. Last week it looked really good, so I think Chicago is going to have their hands full again. I think I think every Bears fan will agree with me. Letting Kyle Fuller go may have been one of the worst things you could have done this offseason. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game too. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a really good game again.
Yeah, I hope he does. Plus, it's a cool matchup. Cincinnati, Chicago, Bears, Bengals, or Bengals, Bears. Anyway, it's just a lot tongue twister game. The Cincinnati Bengals play the Chicago Bears. I love this. If you're watching the visual version, I'll explain to audio viewers. It says tickets as low as look at like the 49ers Eagles game. Tickets as low as $144. Go to Broncos Jaguars. Tickets as low as $32. I don't know why I find that funny, but yeah. I got the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Chicago Bears. I think it'll be a low scoring game. Mason's another game you're excited for.
From previous talks, I don't know if Tanner's excited for this game, but I'm personally excited for the Chiefs versus the Ravens. I don't know. I think the Ravens D line or offensive line sucks, but I feel like the Chiefs defense kind of sucks. So I feel like Lamar might just have like a field day this week, and especially if Tyrann Mathieu doesn't play again, should be pretty cool. And I think Patrick Mahomes will probably light up that Ravens team. So I think I don't know, it could be maybe like a one-sided game, but I think it could match up to be pretty good. Orlando Brown Jr. revenge game. I think that's kind of a
Oh
cool narrative.
yeah.
He's an offensive lineman, but I think that's a cool narrative because I know this is going to hurt Tanner, but their offensive line sucks, and they didn't want to bring back Orlando Brown Jr. because they didn't really want to pay him the money that he wanted, but he also wanted to play left tackle. But yeah, we'll see how this game goes out. But I'm always excited to see Lamar Jackson and Mahomes duel it out.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a duel it's gonna be when Lamar Jackson's under pressure constantly. John Wall had a field day with the Ravens defense. I think a similar thing is gonna happen. It was tough seeing in Baltimore. Great game, good job to the Raiders, good game. The Chiefs is a whole nother level. So the Ravens have the AFC West opponents early, which is kind of brutal because after this, they go to Detroit, then I think go to Denver, then host the Chargers. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's something tough for Baltimore. I could see them starting out slow and then winning a lot. I think they could actually start like 0-3 and then go on a winning streak. I'm excited for the Raiders Steelers game. Not like a huge reason why, just Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Raiders Steelers, two kind of legacy teams. I'm interested to see how the Steelers defense does against Darren Waller and crew. And Derek Carr had a really nice game Monday night, 450 yards passing, which in today's NFL, 300 yards is almost like 200 yards. If the passing rules, I'm almost like subtract 100 yards to kind of get more accurate read of things. But yeah, I think it'll be a fun game. How does Las Vegas do against Pittsburgh? And yeah, there's a lot of revenge games this week. You have Andy Dalton in the revenge game in the Cincinnati Chicago Bengals Bears game. You have Patrick Peterson revenge game with Vikings Cardinals. You mentioned Orlando Brown. So a lot of really cool narratives throughout this week. I know Mason, you say you're excited for Raiders too. It's also Rams Colts, which I think is cool. You have the out of conference matchup there with LA and Indy. I just think the Rams match up really well against the Colts.
Yeah, I'm more kind of excited to watch it just because I don't know, I like watching Matt Stafford play. I don't know, I think he's gonna have a good game against the Colts, and I don't know, I like watching Wentz too. So I think it's just like two quarterbacks. That's why I'm like interested in it. It's just two quarterbacks that like going at it. I think Stafford's obviously better, but I really hope Wentz like. I feel like he didn't have a horrible week last week against Seattle. The offensive line for the Colts sucked last week, which is
Which is,
surprising for the Colts. So
yeah,
I don't know if Carson Wentz is a curse or something, but yeah, he didn't have a bad game last week, as you can see from the stats, and then he lost by 12 to the Seahawks. But um, yeah, I'm really excited for that game. And you were talking about the Steelers and Raiders game. I'm excited to watch that game because I'm just curious to see who will win. Because I think coming into the season like a week ago, if you were to say the Steelers would have started off 2-0 or the Raiders started off 2-0, I would not have believed you because I thought both those teams are going to get like stomped on week one. I thought the Bills were going to beat the brakes off the Steelers, and I thought the Ravens would pull away if the Raiders win. So whoever wins that matchup is going to be 2-0 and have a great start to their season, which is amazing for their playoff hopes. So that's just a really cool thing or interesting thing to keep an eye on.
yeah, I could see the Raiders or Steelers making the playoffs, kind of two sleeper teams. I hope Quentin Nelson plays in this Rams Colts team, so that way we can have Aaron Donald versus Quentin Nelson. Please, please, Nelson. I hope he gets healthy. These teams play each other every 4 years. It's like a once in a lifetime
Yeah,
opportunity.
two future Hall of Famers going at it like
Yeah,
on the line does not happen very often. So that would be really cool.
it does not. I thought Carson Wentz played well last week. Let's see any other games. Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Oh no, I feel bad for Falcons fans. Oh no, that's not gonna be pretty. You also have 49ers Eagles. I'm excited for that one. I think that'll be a good one. Mason, do you have any other games?
Uh, no, it's pretty much it. This Thursday night game was pretty cool, but I think we'll talk more about that next week when we recap games. But I wasn't actually that excited to watch this game tonight, but it turned out to be pretty good.
It was, yeah. So until then, everyone will be covering football next time. Hope you all enjoy this. Leave your feedback down below. Any suggestions you have, let us know what you think of week one. And until then, everyone, take care.